Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, abortion meds targeted. Also, an innocent man sits on death row. And the Alabama Senate is blaming the House for the failure of the gambling bill.
The odds are 1,000,000 to 1.
It's possible, but not very probable.
It's a lie. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by Susan Britt, research guru extraordinaire, and Josh Moon, investigative reporter and columnist at APR. Welcome.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, you know, I feel a lot better this week. Been out of session for a week. I feel like my PTSD is subsiding a little bit.
Slow it down a little bit. You can take a breath.
Little bit.
But there's a lot to report on, a lot going on, and most of it's bad. But there you go. That's politics, right? Susan, our Attorney General, Steve Marshall, has said in the past on several occasions that he would like to prosecute women who take the abortion drugs under Alabama's Criminal Chemical Endangerment Act. Now, he's been schooled that he's wrong about this, but it doesn't stop him from saying it. Now, he also has backed up a little bit and said, well, he doesn't really want to prosecute women. He wants to prosecute providers.
Right.
Now, he's lying because this guy would prosecute his grandmother if it would get him one more vote. He wants to prosecute women. He's said it many times in many different ways. He wants to prosecute women. But now the Louisiana legislature has gone one better than Steve Marshall. The House down there and the Creoles and the Cajuns have passed a bill that will actually make it illegal for people to prescribe these abortion drugs, the mifepristone and misoprostol. And it's going to criminalize the people who prescribe it. It's going to make it a Schedule 4, Class 4 drug up there with opioids and things like that, because they do not want women to have access to this vital health care solution.
And once again, Louisiana legislature, Alabama legislature, they don't bother to actually talk to physicians and see what these drugs are used for, how they're used. For instance, some of these are used, if a woman's having a miscarriage, to go ahead and expedite that, or to induce labor in some instances, and some other gynecological, conditions. They just want to put the label on it and make it all about abortion when they're not actually trying to study and figure out what these drugs actually do, what they're needed for in other situations to women's health, because they don't really care about women's health. They just care about the headlines.
And Josh, this is further politicalization of abortion. They have fought for 50 years to overturn Roe v. Wade. They finally got a Supreme Court under ex-President Donald Trump to do that. And now they're pushing to outlaw contraceptives, to outlaw these abortion drugs. They really want to put women, not just back in the 1950s, but in the 1800s. They do not want women to have control over their bodies or their lives.
Yeah, I never would have imagined when I was watching The Handmaid's Tale that there'd be a group of people out there that thought, hey, let's live like that. But apparently they do. And this is where we're headed. And listen, a lot of Democrats have been accused of fear mongering and trying to scare people into voting for them by saying that Republicans are coming for your contraceptives and for your other health and trying to insert themselves in between women and their doctors. It seems like all of it's pretty true. There's no there's no end to this. There have been very powerful people who have said they want to target contraception. There have been very powerful people on the Republican side of this thing that have taken steps to do just that. And this is one of those steps. And, it's so ignorant, and it's so, counterproductive in terms of medical advancement. And, it would seem as though in this day and time that we could be on more solid scientific footing than what we are in such an important issue, where we could take the ridiculous religious aspects out of it, because this is all this is. All right. There's no reason to do any of this stuff if not for religion. Okay. Right. That's what's running all of this stuff.
But it's really Christian religion. It is not Judaism. Yes. It is not. Yes. It's not Islam. It's not neither one of those. It's certainly not Buddhist.
But I also know that at least one, maybe two people I know of that are doing the battle cry for these abortions and abortion pills don't necessarily practice what they preach.
Yeah, but and you're right. Josh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. It's because you're 100% right. It is. It's the Christian religion that we're talking about, and it is, and people now, for whatever reason, have no qualms whatsoever about inserting Christianity into our political structure, and nobody cares anymore. Where a lot of those same people talk about the golden age of the 1950s and 60s when things were so great. Well, let me tell you, back during that time, we didn't do this sort of stuff. All right, it was taboo to talk about religion outside of your personal experience and outside of your home and stuff. And especially in politics, they took great care to keep that stuff out. Yeah. And I personally would like to go back to that little part of that golden age that people talk about.
Yeah.
Let's also remember, in that golden age, a woman couldn't have a bank account or a credit card or get a loan without the signature of her husband.
Right.
You really want to go back that far?
Well, and some people do. They do.
I know.
Hey, I want to switch subjects here real quick. We've got about a minute, then less than a minute and a half. But everyone bemoaned the fact that the UAW lost its fight against Mercedes. But in the shadow of that, a small victory for union workers over at the New Flyer Bus Company. They did unionize this past week. They got their contract approved for a union. It is a small company, about 600 employees. But Susan, for those who are pro-union, this was a win.
And I'll admit, I'm a union girl. My daddy was in the carpenters union all growing up. They won it with 99% of the union members, and it includes like between a 15 and 38% raise by 2006, a cost of living adjustments, retirement, all of these things that unions used to provide and now are coming back and being able to provide for workers.
Josh, 30 seconds, last word.
Yeah, listen, I think that there are a lot of these little small companies that have done this over the course of the last several years, and unions are starting to take hold again. I think that's a very good thing for the American workers and for the Alabama workers. I'm disappointed at the UAW deal, but listen, that's their choice. They voted. That's the choice that they made. I think there were some gains that you could see from the previous vote that happened about 10 years previously. And so I think that they're on the right track there. And I think eventually Alabama's automakers will be unionized.
I think right here you see small victories that will lead to bigger ones. Whether you're pro-union or against unions, they're coming. Anyway, we're going to have to leave it right there. You're watching the voice of Alabama politics.
My personal biggest pet peeve is kids who are not properly restrained, whether that be in a booster seat, a car seat, or even a simple seatbelt. Kids, they become projectiles, and it's terrifying.
It absolutely breaks my heart to know that something so innocent could be punished so severely.
Your children rely on you to be that person that says, no, you need to put your seatbelt on.
Your home is your most valuable asset. But what if someone tried to steal it from you? Property fraud is one of the fastest growing areas of fraud in the country today.
As a district attorney, I've seen firsthand the devastating effects of property fraud. That's why I'm proud to support the Montgomery County Probate Court's REACT program.
REACT is designed to protect your property and to give you peace of mind. By signing up, you'll receive an email notification if a document is filed against your property.
This program is a game changer. It has the potential to prevent fraud and protect countless homeowners throughout Montgomery County.
So don't wait. Sign up for REACT today and protect your home.
Protect your home with REACT. Sign up today.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. I just want to dive right into this thing. The Republicans in the Senate have gone out of their way to paint what happened with the gambling legislation as if it was some through the looking glass in Alice in Wonderland. Because they put out statements and their members have said, oh, we passed the gaming bill. It was the House that didn't pass the gaming bill. Now, this is just not a technicality here that they're lying about. This is a whole wrath of things that they're just prevaricating on. You know, it's crazy.
Yes, it is. It's insanity. I mean, and listen, I understand it that they're taking heat over this. There are people who the voting public is legitimately pissed about what happened here. I mean, they are, and it's I think a lot of it is not just the fact that they wanted gambling and people are so passionate about having gambling in the state. I think that they're mad that they didn't get a chance to vote.
Yeah.
That these people had the gall to block them from voting. And that I think is what's really gotten under the skin of so many people. And I understand it. And the House did what the Senate had done 3 years previously with a comprehensive bill that was very popular among people. All four aspects of the bill were polled very well among voters, even among Republican voters. They were above 50% on pretty much everything. And so they were just going to put that for a vote, and they passed that bill. They passed a good version once, sent it to the Senate, and they just destroyed the thing up there. They sent it back, and they said, we can't concur with that, but we'll go to conference with you and try to work something out. They worked out a compromise bill that was not great. It wasn't a great bill, but it was something that achieved some of the goals that they wanted. And so the House then passed that bill again and sent it back to the Senate, who couldn't get it done. And it was 15 senators didn't do that, but honestly, it was a small group of senators and the leadership of the Senate that did not get this thing done and blocked people from being able to vote.
But at this point, to have the audacity to actually try to convince the voters that they did the hard lifting and that the House did nothing is galling, as my granny used to say. It's just unbelievable that they think they can get by with this.
Yeah, and it's almost like they're trying to take a victory lap, say, oh, well, we did all of it, but the House, they messed it up. No. You guys in the Senate could not get your stuff together. You let Alpha get involved. In fact, I had hoped that Ivy would actually hold the Ag Center bill and put that and the gaming bill in special session together and let them dogfight it out. Yeah. She didn't do it. But boy, wouldn't that'd have been sweet.
That'd have been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I think the thing is, and I think the governor has to do this, I think the governor is going to have to sit down with the House and the Senate leadership and say, look, we know that Speaker Ledbetter has the gall, the cojones, the peaches to get this done. What we haven't seen is whether Senator Greg Reed, the president pro tem, has any leadership in him at this point, other than to pander to the red meat base of the Republican Party. Now, if I were the governor, and I'm not, but I could play one, I would get them in a room and the major leadership, and I would say, now, you're going to come up with a package that you two can agree on and that you're going to whip the votes on, or else. And there's a lot of
There's
else's,
a
Susan.
whole lot of else's. Ask Jim McClendon about getting a teaspoon worth of asphalt in St. Clair County since he voted against her gas tax.
Yeah.
And there's a whole wide range of things that she can do to them and to their members as far as holding up things in their districts.
Well, I can tell you what, if I were governor, I would punish St. Clair County until some of the good people over there got rid of that
Lance Bell.
over there, because he could have voted for this and we wouldn't be having this conversation now. But he sold out to somebody.
He did.
We don't know who, but we'll find out. Word is that he sold out to the Rileys, but I don't know that the Rileys had that much to do with it.
Yeah, no, listen, you know, the thing that gets me about it is the kind of the lying of this thing. And the lies that are being told, you know, and I've heard some comments from folks like Arthur Orr and some others that said, you know, listen, we know what the people wanted. What the people wanted was a clean lottery. Listen, a lottery is a very popular thing with the people, but what people don't understand a lot in this is there's no such thing as a clean lottery bill.
Right.
Also, what the politicians seem to be missing is what's popular with people is an education lottery.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
With this devoted with revenue devoted directly to scholarship programs and other education expenses, and it's being tied to those things where they can't touch it. That's what's popular with people, and the Senate has never offered that.
No.
And I don't know who he's talking to. I don't know who Orr's talking to, but all the people I talked to, even women in the nail salon this week, were going on about what Josh just said. They want it for education. And they didn't say, oh, we want just a lottery for education. They didn't. They want to be able to vote on it and get this done.
People understand that there's a lot more games out there than lottery, and they want to play them. It's entertainment.
Well, people think it's stupid. I mean, honestly, people think this whole thing is stupid and overblown. The gambling and lotteries have been around for so long now, and they're so popular, and sports wagering has so inundated the culture that nobody cares about this stuff anymore. You know, they see it and they're like, "What are you arguing about? Just pass the stupid thing and let us play it or not play it. Who cares?"
And that's what they were saying in the salon yesterday. We are sending money to all the states around us. Meanwhile, our kids are suffering. What is wrong with the legislature?
Well, the thing is that they're sold out to various interests. They got promises that if you would meddle with this, you'll get Alpha support, or you'll get API support, or you'll get this one support, or that support. And so they sold out their constituents for higher office. Other ones sold out for more campaigns. Or that they were afraid that they'd be.
The bottom line is they sold out.
They sold out, and it's really 15 senators that did it.
They sold out the citizens.
Yeah,
is what for their own interest is the bottom line in this.
Because they don't care about those citizens. They only care about a small minority of the Republican base who's going to elect them because they kissed their ring, and that's it. But anyway, I have to leave it right there. You're watching The V, the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
Today, Montgomery is a safer city. It's time to shift the narrative and take control of our future. We're reopening community centers, remediating blight, and revitalizing neighborhoods across the city. And we're unleashing new opportunities. Over the past year, companies have invested a record-setting $2 billion in Montgomery and created 2,000 jobs. This is a new Montgomery. And together, we're reimagining the possibilities.
As a paramedic, you wouldn't believe the things that we've seen.
I've seen all types of horrible things.
I mean, we're there basically picking up the pieces from your worst day.
Everyone is just driving and not paying attention.
We all have the same goal. All of us want to go home alive and safe and harm nobody else in the process.
Slow down. Be careful. Care about the other people on the road. Don't be the reason that someone else doesn't go home tonight.
Welcome back to The V, the voice of Alabama politics. Susan, I want to jump right into this critical development. Forrest Johnson has been on death row in Alabama for 20 years. Now, he was convicted of murdering Sheriff's Deputy William Hardy back in the 90s, but he was convicted on the testimony of a woman who was paid $5,000 to say he did it.
Right.
And there was no other corroborating information. Now, some 20 years later, Jefferson County District Attorney Danny Carr and a host of others who have been vocal for years and years and years, including a Kardashian, are saying, look, this guy deserves a new hearing. Now, Danny Carr has filed an amicus brief with the court for him to get a new hearing. I don't know that he'll get one, but this is what's wrong with the death penalty. But we'll get to that later.
You know, he had multiple witnesses that he was not even anywhere near where this murder occurred. The woman who testified that she overheard his confession on the phone to the murder later was found out was paid $5,000 for some reason. We can draw a conclusion for that. But you said Danny Carr and Kardashian. I mean, the original prosecutor in the case is calling for this, as well as former Alabama Attorney General Bill Baxley, former Alabama Supreme Court Justice Drayton Neighbors. I mean, these are big names in our state when it comes to justice.
I mean, Josh, you've covered this story and you know this story. I mean, this is a travesty that this man has spent pretty much the best years of his life on death row because of the poor justice system that we have had here in Alabama.
Yeah, you know, it's actually a worse case than you've even said so far. I mean, originally he was not suspected of the crime, and then even when they charged him and another man with murder at the same time, and decided to just see which one they could make out of this, because they didn't know, and there's nothing connecting him to this crime except for this woman who allegedly overheard him confess on the phone from the jail with her while he was on a phone call with the lady's daughter. Now, she claimed it was him. She'd never heard him before, has no idea, never spoken to him before, and basically he had just given his last name during the phone call. But that's what we convicted him of. That's why this man is in jail, and it's almost impossible. It's virtually impossible that he committed this crime. I mean, it's given the evidence, and there's no chance if he gets another trial that he would ever be convicted of it.
And let's get this straight, Josh. He's a black man.
Yes.
He killed a white deputy sheriff.
Someone killed a white deputy sheriff.
Huh?
Someone killed.
I mean, he was accused of killing a white deputy sheriff. I'm sorry.
Yes.
And so, I don't know. But I kind of see back in the 1990s that being a problem.
Listen, Bill, it's not as much of a miscarriage of justice as the former president being prosecuted for paying off a porn star, because that gets the attention of a whole bunch of Alabama current lawmakers that could do something about this. So I understand, that it's not that much of a travesty, but it is just one man wrongly convicted and spending his better parts of his years on death row for no reason whatsoever.
Well, I am not even going to get into any further discussion about the star power that Stormy Daniels brought forth in the Witches of Breastwick 1 and 2.
1 and 2.
1 and 2. But I listened to her testimony. She was a great witness. I mean, she's a tough old bird who has had a rough life, and has she made living the way some people wouldn't want to? No, but. I don't care how she made her living, and neither does the banker. And I say more power to her. If that's how you make a living, make a living. She didn't steal from anybody or anything else. She, anyway, I want to move on. And this brings me to this point. Okay, let's say Mr. Johnson was convicted, which he was. But let's say that the appeals process didn't go as slowly as it's gone. So that finally there's a DA, somebody responsible, is being able to challenge this in court. He would be dead, Susan. And the state, in our name, would have murdered an innocent man. Now, if you want to go to religion, when I give you my vote, you are my representative. and then you go and take lives, you're taking them in my name, whether it's in war, whether it is in the judicial system. You're taking them in my name. It's called a sin of commission.
Mm-hmm.
I have given you the right. If it's a sin, I've given you the right to commit that sin in my name. And so I hold that it's morally and ethically wrong for the state to murder people in my name. I don't want them to murder people in my name because I do not believe in the death penalty. I did wholeheartedly. But once I realized that people were being put on death row and convicted, that's an irreversible punishment, right?
It is. And the thing is, and over time, especially over the last couple of decades, we've realized how many people have been put on death row, how many people have been executed that were later found out to have been innocent.
Right.
And that bothers me. Like you, I was all for the death penalty at a younger age, but as I've gotten older, as I've seen all of these things go through, I'm totally against. It does not cost the state, and this is an argument they love to use, it does not cost the state that much more money. I mean, God, it costs $35 a day, in the state of Alabama to house a prisoner. So it doesn't cost that much more just to keep them in there for life.
Right. Actually, Josh, I think it's probably less in some places, but we know for sure it is not the deterrent they want us to believe it is. And it's just, I'm against it. I'm just against it because of what I've seen.
Yeah, I understand. I'm somewhat conflicted on it to a certain degree. I'm against it all the way up until I see somebody do something that involves kids.
Yeah, I understand.
And then I'm right back in the camp. But I understand exactly the point, and and I think there's one of the best things I've ever heard about it is once you have taken that individual off the streets and encaged him, as we have in our prison system. That person is no longer a threat to anyone. You've eliminated the threat which they have posed to society as a whole. And so at that point right there, all you're doing to further that is retribution to make yourself feel better. And I don't know that's worth it.
Well, and listen, I understand all the arguments, but to me, the most simple one is how, as a people, do we condemn the act of murder and then turn around and punish someone by committing the same act?
Premeditated murder on the second part.
Yeah. Anyway, you've been watching the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.